Good morning. Hello to everyone in Vegas. Sorry I wasn't able to join you this morning, but it seems Mother Nature and the airlines had other plans. It's nice to finally be in Vegas, though, at least remotely if I can't be there in person. Whenever I would imagine playing Vegas in the past, I always pictured it a little more like this than like this. But since what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, I'm going to show you this. Now, ultimately, I decided that there was better job security with a white coat than fuchsia tights. So here we are. Now, for those of you confused that you might be in the wrong auditorium, this is not Cirque du Soleil, this is Epicure, and I'm super excited to be here. My name is Dr. Sean Lucan, and I'm going to be talking about healthy eating, good food, real food, food mostly from plants, the living botanical kind, not plants, the industrial processing kind. And what I'm not going to be focusing on is this, and I'll explain why. So as many of you in the audience probably know, counting calories can be an exercise in frustration. How are you supposed to determine the number of calories you take in? Not just eaten, but actually absorbed. And simultaneously determine the number of calories you burn, not just in exercise, but in all those metabolic reactions going on at every moment in your body. And do so with enough certainty to guide real-time decisions about how much you should be eating or how much exercise you should be doing. And yet patients are always asking me about calories and how many calories to lose weight. They want to know how many more calories they need to burn or how many fewer calories they need to eat. And a common misconception is that 3,500 calories equals 1 pound, but for the Canadians in the audience, 0.45 kilograms of body weight. The translation is that if you burn 500 calories more than you eat daily for 7 days or a week, you will lose 1 pound, or 0.45 kilograms. Unfortunately, our bodies don't operate by simple math. And that makes sense. Of course, it can't be the case that you can lose a pound a week, week after week, until there are no more pounds to lose. Your weight goes to zero, and you simply disappear. So when you lose weight, your body fights back, such that the 3,500 calorie rule sets you up for false expectations and disappointment. So for example, if you eat just 100 calories less per day, the equivalent of about an average sized banana, the 3,500 calorie rule would predict that over 5 years you would lose 50 pounds. Now that's pretty good, but unfortunately, it's just not true. In reality, you probably lose closer to about 10 pounds. And while you lose about 50% of that in the first year, it would take another 2 years to lose 95%. And over the last 2 years, even with the same adherence, even maintaining the same deficits, you would only lose about half a pound or 0.2 kilograms, despite the same effort and struggle. And patients really struggle with this. And when they tell me they struggle, I believe them. So something I hear commonly is, but doc, I swear, I'm choosing low-calorie foods, I'm controlling my portions, and I'm really not eating that much, although I'm always hungry. I'm trying to exercise, even though I don't really have much energy. I just can't seem to lose the weight, or I just can't keep the weight off, or more often, but I just keep putting on weight. The problem is that patients are usually focused on exactly the wrong thing. They're focused on calories. Now, it's true that a focus on calories almost inevitably becomes a focus on dietary fat, because fat has the highest calories per unit weight of any food component. So when we talk about reducing calories, usually what we're talking about is reducing fat, or more often, replacing fat with lower calorie carbohydrates. The problem is that higher calorie, fattier foods are not necessarily bad. And lower calorie, lower fat foods are not necessarily good. Let's take an example. I call this a tale of two foods. So we'll take a handful of walnuts or a piece of cake. Now both foods are the same size, in this case 100 grams. The walnuts have almost twice as many calories as the cake. And they have about 5 times or more than 5 times as much fat. So the cake is already much lower in calories than the nuts. And it wouldn't be hard to imagine a low-fat version of the cake, a low-calorie version of the cake, where some of that fat gets substituted for carbohydrates, refined starches, and sugars. So is it the case that cake, or low-calorie cake, is a healthier, more weight-friendly snack than walnuts? Well, actually, whole foods like walnuts are filling. Ultra-processed products like cake drive overeating. It's very hard to overeat walnuts. It's very easy to have a second or even third piece of cake, and then to want some chips and soda with it as your appetite gets revved up. The difference in effect between the walnut and cake then has almost nothing to do with the number of calories these foods contain. Let's take another example, a tale of two salads. So in both salads, we're going to have some leafy greens. And into that, we're going to mix some avocado, some sunflower seeds, and some olive oil in the salad on the left. And in the other salad, we're going to toss in some white bread croutons, some sugary fruit chews covered in high fructose corn syrup, and a syrupy fat-free dressing. Now, it's no question that the salad on the left is higher calorie than the salad on the right. In fact, it's probably the case that the salad on the left has more than twice as many calories as the salad on the right. The salad on the left is mostly whole foods. The one on the right is mostly ultra-processed products. As a consequence, on this side, you get more filling and better appetite control, as opposed to being less filling with a revved up appetite. On the left, you get less subsequent eating, whereas on the right, you're inclined to eat more. And it's probably also the case that after eating the salad on the left, you feel more inclined to move, whereas after eating the salad on the right, you feel sluggish and tired and like you need some couch time. So this is a lesson that keeps not getting learned. Calories essentially just becomes another term for dietary fat. Dietary fats, like natural oils, get replaced by lower calorie carbs, refined starches, and sugars. And what happens is that people don't eat less, they eat more, and they get fatter. Heck, even the jars get fatter, apparently. So this really sets up two approaches. One approach is focused on calories. The other is focused on food quality and wholesome foods. Now there's some overlap in terms of the foods these two approaches would encourage or discourage. Both would tend to encourage most fruits and vegetables and whole grains, so those are good. Most would tend to discourage processed meats, fried starches, sugary beverages. So that's bad. But the calorie-focused approach would also discourage healthful, fattier foods like nuts and olives and avocado. And a calorie-focused approach would encourage processed and ultra-processed foods like low-calorie, sugary yogurts, refined grains, diet juice drinks. So we have to ask ourselves, is that the best approach for healthy weight and for good health? Well, among the studies that looked at weight change with certain foods was this one from the New England Journal in 2011. And it shows foods associated with weight gain and weight maintenance, weight changes over time. And the figure on the right is hard to read, so I'm going to summarize it for you. Essentially, there were foods that were good And those foods look like this. Fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, legumes. There were also foods that were bad. The bad foods look like this. So basically highly processed, ultra-processed foods and sugary and sweet varieties. So when I say ultra-processed, I should be clear what I mean. So let's take an example. We start with a natural whole food, like let's say a piece of fruit. One ingredient. Now we can process that food, like canned fruit, say canned fruit in fruit juice, 2 ingredients. And then the ultra-processed version looks something like this, a fruit juice powder. Now this product has a long list of ingredients, most of which are barely pronounceable, let alone recognizable, and none of which are fruit. There is this fruit flavoring, but no actual fruit in this entire product. There's also something called anti-caking agent. I'm not even really sure what that is, although that's probably me, the agent against cake. No cake for you. Or actually, let's just limit the cake and let's avoid ultra-processed foods and let's choose foods that promote good nutrition and good health. So to reiterate, these are foods that are bad. And perhaps it's especially the case that these foods, when processed or when engineered to be lower in calories, lower in fat, with added starches and sugars, they're especially bad. These are foods that are good. Wholesome food, real food, food from plants. So, you can certainly choose ultra-processed foods and go down a path that leads towards heart disease and cancer and early death. Along the way, eating more than you intend and gaining weight. Or you could focus on healthy eating and not focus on calories and put the emphasis on plant foods that are good for weight and good for health. So the bottom line and prescription for good health is this. Healthy eating is about food quality, not food calories. Calories definitely count, but we should not be trying to count them. Avoid ultra-processed foods. They drive overeating, and particularly overeating of unhealthful calories. Enjoy real foods, whole foods, foods mostly from plants. These provide unconscious calorie control and good health. So choose food and chew your food. And remember, what happens in Vegas. I'm Sean Lucan, and it's been a pleasure.